Hello everyone, and welcome to another beer review. Now today we're back on this kind of German mini-series, and we're doing Hofbräu, the Oktoberfestbier. Where am I? There we go. Get the glasses pulled back up. So yeah, that's what we're on, Hofbräu. Well, let's crack it open and see what it's like. It's 500ml bottle, 6.3%. It is a proper Oktoberfest beer. Whether that actually makes it better than some of the other beers we've already tried or not, well, I'll be totally honest. When I've been at Oktoberfest, I've actually enjoyed the beer better at the beer killers that were festival beers but not Oktoberfest beers. And there you go. But we'll crack it open and see what it's like. It's not giving us any more details. Obviously, I'll put more in the beer facts below. I was looking for some kind of Plato percentage, but it's not giving us any of that. That is telling us that there's a 0.3 Swiss francs deposit return apparently on the label. So there you go. So if we're in Switzerland, I could give the bottle back, get 30 Swiss franc cents. I'm trying to find out what I've done with my. Oh, I don't know. I feel like I'm to one side today. I don't know what's wrong. I'm to one side. There's a bloody chair knack. There we go. That's a bit better. Jesus, I was cocky a minute ago. Let's get this cracked open. I just felt that I was sitting kind of out of shore a bit. But that's. Whoops. Let's see what this is like. Let's get it poured. There we go. I don't know if, what do you call it? We've been doing some kegs and we mentioned about some kegs, the pros and cons and everything else. Well, I found a con to these 5 litre beer kegs, and this was the pressurised ones, the ones that are kind of the Heineken kegs. I'd ordered 2 kegs of Kronbacher maybe about a month and a half ago. Jesus, this is going well. Look at the state of this. And first one was fine, not a problem. And it wasn't until last week there, or this weekend, that I was wiring into the second one. Wiring in, all I got was 2.5 glasses at the bloody thing. Because the keg was dodgy. And kept bloody kind of leaking in spots and absolutely christening the kitchen, which may be really popular with the wife and things like that. So that's one of the other downsides that I didn't mention because I didn't know about it. It's fucking rain there. Serious. I thought, right, I'll wait so we don't have the arsehole with the car exhaust, and we don't have the church bells, and we don't have the helicopters, and we don't have the local wildlife and animals all kind of joining in, having a chorus. And I thought, no emergency services, great. Now it's just the weather. Got the rain, but yeah, as I was saying about the kegs, one of the things that I didn't put down as a con for these kegs is if you get a dodgy keg that leaks and makes a bloody mess, that's another downside. And one of the big problems is if it's a 5 litre and you haven't really drunk anything out of it, then that can cause a hell of a bloody mess. I can assure you of that. It's a suck of my wife. But anyway, so that's one to kind of watch out for. Choose your kegs wisely. Right, so what we have, as you can see, it was about, normally porter would probably say about 2.5 finger head. It's kind of dissipated a bit. It's a nice crisp looking kind of clear golden lager. And it's still got plenty of lacing and everything else, but it's kind of dissipated from what it was. For the people in the podcast, for the people who are watching, well, you've seen it for yourself. So what does it smell of? Well, let's just do a wee There we go. What does it smell of? Well, it's that usual kind of Marzan kind of smell. You're getting slight acidity, which I call kind of reminds me of a kind of salsa, kind of slightly tomatoey, kind of raw tomatoes. Grain, maybe slightly bready, but very light. Don't smell hops. Not so much malt either. Maybe a little bit of malt. But yeah, the main ones is kind of slightly bready, grainy, and this kind of slightly acidic, kind of salsa-esque. So let's see what it tastes like. It's actually quite nice, quite pleasant. There's obviously more body to it. It's 6.3%. I would expect its Plato percentage to be fairly decent. I would say it's probably got to be well above 10 anyway. I would probably say 12, maybe 13 at least. So it'll be interesting to see. I'll do obviously more investigation to find that out. But in general, flavours are quite nice. Again, no real bitterness at the end. It's one of these kind of clean finishes. That rain's coming down like a bugger, so it is. Can you hear that? Seriously. Oh god. But anyway, yeah, it's one of these ones with what we call a clean finish. It just dissipates quite quickly, and there's no real kind of no bitterness or nothing really happening in the aftertaste apart from the kind of the flavours that have transferred over from the mid tongue, just kind of petering out and dissipating. That's it. But in general, it's actually not too bad. I would go to admit, I prefer the Hofbräu fest beers to Paulaner. Paulaner, I just not really my cup of tea. The Helles is not too bad. I can suffer the Helles, but a lot of the Paulaner kind of range, no, not really for me. Just something about it that just I don't particularly like. But yeah, in general, it's quite a nice beer. Not too bad. But yeah, it's a good level of malt there. Nice kind of working with the grain. Level of sweetness is it's just nice, but you've just got that 6.3 alcohol, which just slightly takes the edge off it because you're just getting slightly the alcohol edge on it that's just taking the bit off the sweetness. And yeah, overall, it's quite a nice beer. So let's break down the flavours. Start off getting plenty of malt, plenty of grain, and a nice kind of underlying sweetness there. That's quite nice at the front of the mouth. It is just nice. It's what I would say. It's a good, pleasant start. You can't turn around and say the malt's kind of lacking or anything like that. Just a good, pleasant start. Naturally, there's more malt in this type of beer that you'd probably find in a normal lager. And definitely more malt than what you would find in any kind of lager available in the UK and that's been brewed in the UK. Yes, I would probably say it's definitely up there with the kind of malt levels of some of the Czech beers we've tried as well. So yeah, so it's fine from that point of view. But a good kind of balance with the grain and the sweetness makes a nice start to it. So it's a good front of the mouth. Move on to the mid tongue. And you start to feel some of the alcohol kind of tones coming through because it's 6.3. You're getting a little bit of alcohol tones coming through in the mid tongue, which isn't affecting the malt, isn't affecting the grain. But what it will do is it's actually kind of slightly dying down the sweetness a bit. So it's reacting more on the sweetness, just taking the edge off it. So the sweetness is kind of dissipated a bit, but you are getting these slight alcohol tones. Not bitterness, but they are giving you slightly kind of maybe a little soury notes, but very light soury notes. But yeah, they're just little kind of off-sweet notes, which again makes it more interesting. But also you're just getting kind of a nice kind of breadishness kind of accents coming through as well. So you're getting bready accents. You've still got a nice level of malt and grain. The sweetness is dissipated, and you've got these little kind of slightly kind of off-sweet accents coming from the alcohol. And then the main flavours, the malt, the grain, slight breadishness, and what's left of the sweetness just kind of transfers from the mid-tongue over to the back of the mouth, and the aftertaste is just really these flavours dissipating as a group. There's no real one that's kind of hanging about or lingering or anything like that, and there's no additional flavours coming into the aftertaste either. So you're kind of, that's it. So what you've got in the mid tongue is really, that's your lot, because some of the flavours are just transferring over and then just dissipating as a group, and that's it. So yes, it's a very kind of light and clean finish if you look at it from that point of view, but generally it's quite nice. Could I drink a lot of it? No, I don't think I could be drinking this by the litre or the 1.5 litre. I don't think I could, just because I want a distinct. I got to admit that the front of the mouth is nice and good, but what I want is that little bit of bitterness at the back end, just to kind of balance it out and just to kind of make the finish a bit more interesting, to kind of match the front of the mouth. The front of the mouth is a good start. I'll be honest, it's a good start, and the mid tongue is fine. It's okay. It's nothing special, but it's fine. It's okay. But it just kind of loses it a bit in the aftertaste, just because it's like, oh, right, okay, right, that's us now. We've done our bit. It feels like that. It's like just not really going anywhere at all. It's a bit of an anticlimax. And yeah, I just want something a bit, an additional flavour or something just to come in on the aftertaste, just to kind of add an interesting finish, because it's quite boring and just quite kind of bland and disappointing to a certain degree. I mean, it's not a bad finish. I just feel it's just slightly disappointing because it's a really good start, and then just the end's just not that great. And yeah, it's a bit of a kind of a damp squib, and that's why I think probably the Czech beers kind of take it in quite a lot of ways with the German beers, because there is that bitterness, apart from obviously Budweiser Budvar, which doesn't really have any bitterness at all, but of course is quite prevalent IBU score. But yeah, I think that's one of the reasons why I probably prefer Czech beers more than I prefer German beers, just because there is that bitter finish that just adds that little bit of balance. Like I've always said, you need a bit of yin and yang, and yeah, sometimes with German beers that they do the malt well, they do the grain well and everything else, but they're too shy with the hops. Now here's the thing, is the case is when I'm saying hops actually to try and get some bitterness, but coming from Scotland you don't actually have to use hops. There's plenty of other herbs and herbaceous plants that you can actually used to provide bitterness and things like that. So you don't have to rely on hops, but you need something to give some sort of bitterness, and you're not really getting it. And I feel that's just where it kind of loses out and kind of misses. So what would I give this out of 10? The problem is with giving this one out of 10, we did another one. The Falter beer. But it actually had a little bit of bitterness at the end. It's a little bit of bitterness, and it just worked, and that's what made it nice. The problem is this is just kind of lacking in that. and it's noticeable. But in general, it's a nice beer. But what would I give it out of 10? Now this again is the lager scale. When I'm reviewing lagers, I keep a scale just for lagers, so it's out of 10, but it's just for lagers. Obviously, if it was on the more open scale, like for ales and all that, then the lagers would go down because they just don't really have the flavour profiles of ales. This is one of the things. Ales give you a heck of a lot more flavour and a lot of variety and everything else that you really just couldn't basically put ales and lagers in the same kind of grouping, because if you did, it would just be a waste of time, because the lagers would be always low scoring because it just couldn't stand up to the ales. That's just the reality. So when I'm reviewing a lager, I'm scaling it as how I review all lagers. It's a separate scale for kind of lagers and pilsners and all these type of things, but also for it's the light lagers and not the dark stuff. Just because it's to give them a bit of a chance. So what would I give this out of 10 in the kind of lager scale? It was a good start. It's an okay mid-term. Disappointing in the finish. But that's disappointing for me because I like a little bit of bitterness, and I just think it balances it out. But other people like the clean finish. They like that. They're not looking for the bitterness and everything else. And you've got to remember that these beers are brewed for a market that's inside Germany. Yes, of course, a lot of people from outside of Germany go to Oktoberfest and everything else, but they're brewing it for the German market because it's the German festival and everything else. So, I mean, yeah, you get a lot of tourists, but you also get quite a lot of Germans going there as well, let's be totally honest. And it's brewed for their home market, and their home market likes that style of beer. So I've got to be kind of realistic from that point of view. Just because it's not really my cup of tea, it certainly is right up the street of plenty of other beers. Right, what the fuck am I getting now? Is that a tractor? Jesus fucking hell, getting tractors now. But anyway, I'm going to give it a 6. I'm going to give it a 6 because it's above average, of course, on a lager scale. Yes, it's above average. But for me, it's lacking for it to go anything past that. So I can say, yes, it's above average, but it's lacking because it just doesn't have the finish I'm looking for. But I can't trounce it too much because, of course, obviously, it's not really brewed for people like me. It's brewed for people that aren't looking for a better finish. So I can't really penalise the breweries too much for doing that, because they're brewing it. I mean, it's a business and they are brewing it for the market, and of course there's plenty of people who are very happy with it and delighted with it, but it's just not quite for me. I preferred the Falter. The Falter was nicer, I would be totally honest, and I would rather have that, to be totally honest. I mean, it's a nice enough beer. It's fine. It's very, very drinkable, and yeah, I mean, let's be totally honest. If that was on tap compared to any other beer available in the UK from a lager point of view, then yeah, I'd be quite happy to take this. But I'll be totally honest, out of what we've tasted so far, the Falter is the one I would probably go for. It's still the one I prefer, just because it's just more rounded, it's better balanced, some nice flavours, but also a nicer finish. Again, from my point of view, because I like a bit of the bitterness. So yeah, so it's 500ml, 6.3%. It's part of the kind of little kind of Oktoberfest range, so it works out roughly about £2.50 a bottle, but you have to buy the pack, which is 25 quid for 10 bottles. I would recommend it. Yeah, it's fine, not a problem, but I would also say that so far it's not the best. Falter is, and I would recommend that more if you like a little bit of bitterness at the end. If you don't, then yeah, this is a nice beer, and yeah, give it a go. So, thanks for watching. Cheers, and bye for now.